there is a Simic Ascendancy build around in the queue. So this deck is what we refer to as a mid-range deck. I would probably say it's got a bit of an aggressive slant to it. And I actually think decks like this are likely pretty well positioned in the face of decks like the Gates deck, because this deck has aggressive creatures that can put power into play very quickly. And then it also has cards like Negate to disrupt the opponent's cards that draw cards, or their sweepers or things of that nature. So it's actually pretty close to the blue-green deck I've been working on. We're going to start card for card with what someone sent in here, and we'll kind of talk about changes we might want to make and why. I know I personally, because there's been so many like Nexus decks and the Gates deck and other control decks, I'm kind of a fan of a couple copies of Spell Pierce in the main deck, but that's a small preference choice. You think we actually need 4 islands? I do. I think you want at least 12 blue sources in your deck. This is what I get for defending the 4 islands, right? Just like instantly have to mulligan because of it. Perfect. This hand's very good. Never forget, chat, you didn't have to mulligan. You got to mulligan. Mulliganing is a privilege. It's not a punishment. Imagine if you had to keep all those terrible hands. That would be really, really bad. But I like my thoughts, opponent. Yeah, I agree. I've been pretty impressed with Standard or Spell Pierce at the moment in Standard. I think it does a lot in a lot of places. Yeah, remember when the mulligan had no scry? I do. The dark, dark day. Why do you believe you need 12 blue sources? Because I understand basic mathematics. So this article here talks about the statistics that you need to know that go into assembling mana bases in an intelligent manner. It talks about the minimum number of sources you need to cast your spells consistently by particular turns. That is a Carson article. So I'm binning that because my opponent's just gonna... So this Thief of Sanity is a really powerful card. This says whenever it hits us, my opponent gets to look at the top 3 cards of our deck and draw one of them, basically. So I didn't leave Incongruity up there because I didn't want them to be able to cast that spell. Thief's gonna be a tough nut to crack. They took our Vivien, we had to bin an Incongruity, so hopefully we're gonna get to be aggressive here, but if they have something like a Bell Haunt this turn to like gain some health and put a blocker into play, we're gonna be in a pretty bad spot. Our deck with that's low on removal is definitely a bit weak to cards like this. I'm doing well, Aether Vial. A little bit cold here in the Midwest, but otherwise fantastic. Yikes. That's another land. Yeah, we're pretty dead at this point. Yeah, if Thief connects even just a couple of times, it usually buries people. Do I have extra ways to kill Thief in the sideboard? I do have a couple of Crushing Canopies, so that's really good. We have some Carnage Tyrant and another Hydroid Krasis as a blocker. I think Wildgrowth Walker tends to be a little bit mediocre in the matchups that aren't super aggressive, so I don't mind trimming that. My opponent's deck has flying blockers, which this deck's a blue-green climb deck, so this card kind of gives our creatures evasion by giving them flying and making them bigger, but this card loses a bit of its luster against both decks that have a lot of interaction like the opponent's likely does, as well as decks that have flying blockers. Smexy Shaman with the brand new Prime support. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed here with that. I think I'm just gonna like trim on all the rest of these things. Like these cards are like okay, but like none of them are super impressive. You check with me by submitting the Google form on my website. So the form submission, it basically says don't send me money before I approve your deck list. So there's a Google form linked on my website that you submit your deck through, and I take a look at that every day, and I'll send you a message and say, yes, this is fine, here's how you send me money, or no, this isn't fine, and this is why. I agree, Corral. Thought Erasure into Thief of Sanity is one of the better things you can be doing in Standard right now. I'm gonna go ahead and bin that. I'm kind of looking for a blue source. And while this can eventually make blue mana, it doesn't make blue mana until I have a blue land in play. I think that's for mid-range deck is very good. Darby was streaming it a bit before he went and top 8 at the tournament with it. No, I don't play in Magic Fests. They're just very expensive and don't have a lot of good return. I've played enough Magic tournaments over the years that they've pretty much lost their wonder for me. Between 2014 and 2016, I played like 25 weekends of tournament Magic a year every year, so... This is about to be a lot of chump blockers, so this makes a 1/1 every time they cast a multicolored spell, so there's a good chance my opponent just, like, makes 2 1/1s a turn for the rest of the game. Yikes, where are my lands? How many lands is this build playing? Beyond 24, did we trim? It was only 23. The good news is I have, like, 3 pretty efficient beaters in play right now, so there's a good chance we could just, like, beat them down. Hero is very good with heroic reinforcements. We played a couple of different iterations of decks that play those 2 cards together. Whenever people look at situations like this and blame the shuffler or RNG, like, one of the things you need to understand that as long as you're finding excuses for why you lost the game other than maybe I could do something different and trying to explore how to make yourself better, you're never going to really get better at Magic. Magic's the type of game that has enough variance by design that if you're always looking for an excuse other than you messed up, you're always going to be able to find one. So if you take a little bit of accountability and, like, think critically about the decisions you get to make decisions you got to make and why you made them, you're never going to get better. And yes, there are games where you just lose to variant, but I think those games are much fewer and far between than the games where, like, you had decisions you could make. And I think one of the really key critical decision points that enough people don't think about enough of the time is that, like, if you think you're getting unlucky all the time, that probably means your deck is built poorly. That's why when we sat here and bricked a bunch and went, oh, how many lands are in this build? Like, the fact that there's only 23 lands as opposed to 24 lands in this deck means that I'm gonna brick with cards like this more often. For instance, I've seen both these Incubation Druids this game, which are the only 2 in my deck. Imagine if I, instead of this Incubation Druid, I just, like, had another land in my deck. That would be very good for me, right? So if they have a Mortify here, I'm going to concede, because we're just going to be dead at that point, basically. Yeah, and this is one of the things that, like, makes Magic tough to follow, especially if you're new. It's important to realize that the health totals are not a scoreboard. Your health total's a resource in Magic that helps you win the game. And at this point, even though my opponent's health total is much lower than mine, the fact that I've missed on land drops so much just means that I'm not going to be able to be competitive here. So normally I play a couple of matches before I make any changes to a deck, but I am going to go ahead and add a 24th land to this build, because after playing a lot of other iterations of blue-green climb decks, I'm pretty confident that 24 lands is the floor. Pretty happy with 24 lands in general. Let's go ahead and add a forest here. Re-export that and update the deck on the overlay. You prefer 2 climbs or 3 in the main deck? I think I prefer 2. Climb's a little bit clunky in multiples, and while it's good in some spots, it's definitely not good everywhere. 2 months down, keep up the great content. Appreciate how you explain your thought process while playing. Well, thanks so much for support, Chris. I appreciate you keeping me around. Those subs are the reason I'm able to be here like I am. For sure, 28 power. Magic's arguably the one of the best formats it's ever been right now, and Magic Arena makes Magic really accessible. It's very, very convenient to fire it up and play digitally. And if you enjoy playing digitally, if you enjoy playing Magic digitally, the same game that you're playing on the computer, you can also play in paper with people. My hand is good enough here that I'm not going to trade elves. So I have to make a sequencing decision here. I have a Wildgrowth Walker, which gets bigger every time one of my creature explores. So I could play this and then play the Jadelight Ranger next turn, but that's incredibly resource inefficient. So even though this could potentially work well with this, I'm going to go ahead and play the Jadelight Ranger this turn, so that way I can use all 3 of my mana this turn, and then next turn I can play 2 2-mana spells to be resource efficient then as well. There's also the possibility that because my opponent's going to be untapping with 5 resources here, if I just was resource inefficient and played this turn, my opponent would just untap and kill it, and then I've been resource inefficient for no real value. Yeah, I could. That is a good comment. I could have played the incubation this turn, but I kind of like holding this card in this matchup while I have other stuff to do, because my deck has very limited amounts of removal spells. So I like being conservative with the few that I have in order to best be able to punch through my opponent's threats. So while I have other stuff going on, I like to hold on to this. I would love a Vivien of my own. So Vivien's a powerful Planeswalker card that basically draws you an extra card every turn. Every turn she can +1, and she finds you either a creature or a land off the top 4 cards of your deck.
Meet my newest friend.
They found Ravenous Chupacabra last turn, which is probably going to kill... I guess it's probably going to kill my Wildgrowth Walker. They found a Hydroid Krasis here, which tells us that they're playing the Sultai configuration. Wow, that's aggressive. They killed my mana creature, so that way I couldn't play my own Vivien this turn. Interesting. So I'm going to play this Merfolk Branchwalker before I attack, because this exploring makes my Wildgrowth Walker bigger. So if I keep this Krasis on top, it means I need to Incubation to grab it, or I'm going to miss my land next turn. I think I'm supposed to bin this to try and hit the land to play the Vivien. And now, like, their Vivien's at 3 here, which means that they have to block all 3 of my creatures, or they're going to lose their Planeswalker here, which seems good for me. Well, I mean, their Vivien's likely going away. Also, the Krasis getting shot by Vivien really isn't that big of a loss, because the Krasis still drew us a bunch of cards. So, like, while it feels bad to lose your big giant monster to their Planeswalker, we, like, still end up kind of ahead, because we drew cards, and their Planeswalker was killing our thing that drew cards instead of drawing them more cards the following turn.
Always survive. You'll see.
Gonna go ahead and pass here. Again, just like holding on to this as a potential removal spell rather than grabbing a creature with it right away. What's going on, Garden Variety Troll? Good morning. So really hoping to draw a land of an untapped land this turn so we can go Vivien shoot this. I'm gonna think of this as the extra land that I just added. Makes me feel good inside that could be the extra land I just added.
Wild animal, draw and fire.
They blocked even though they were losing the Planeswalker anyways, because they probably wanted to put Ravenous Chupacabra in their graveyard, because my opponent's deck plays copies of a card called Find Finality, which lets them pick creatures back up from their discard pile to their hand. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see my opponent like play Find Finality and get their Krasis and Chupacabra back this turn, and then like replay the Chupacabra. They also have Memorial to Folly in play, which lets them pick creatures back up. That's very true. So like here, I've been talking about being conservative and saving this card. This is a good example where we're going to get pretty rewarded for doing so, because if I didn't have the Incongruity here, my opponent would be able to kill my Planeswalker with their Krasis, and instead I'm just going to turn their thing into a 3/3, which is good for us. Just in case they have counter spells in their main deck, I'm going to go ahead and do this now. You can always find decks that we've played in the deck queue on my website, as well as the stream title. Now, I think I'd rather get more lands going here, so that way my future Krasis can be better. Do I want to attack here? I think I want to be conservative. I'm going to go ahead and attack with the Jadelight Ranger and be conservative with these two, because I want to keep my Planeswalker alive. I'm pretty okay with that trade, I think. Yep. So we're falling pretty far behind at this point. Our opponent's deck is definitely better at generating values than ours is, especially since our deck doesn't have the full 4 copies of Krasis. Yeah, maybe taking the Growth Chamber Guardian over the Breeding Pool was correct. So this gives these dorks trample, which is nice. This is a viewer-submitted build, Marty. It is currently snowing in the middle of Illinois. Yeah, another... I do have Zegana to potentially help us close the game out quickly, because she's going to turn into an 8-8 here, so she can get rid of Vivien, potentially. Wonder if they have a removal spell here. They just got so many cards in their hand at this point, even though we're ahead on board, it doesn't really matter. How many hours till red, black, right? Do assume 90 minutes per deck, Dauber. So we just started, just started this deck, so probably like 4.5 hours or so. All right, what do you got? They don't have a removal spell. Zegana should be able to kill Vivien Reid this turn because she gives creatures that have 1/1 counters on them trample, which means they don't really care about little chump blockers. Yeah, we'd be in a much better spot if I'd have taken Growth Chamber Guardian instead of that Breeding Pool off the Vivien Plus. Yeah, we're supposed to get down to about -40 here in Illinois, or central Illinois. Okay, well that tells me they don't have a removal spell, which is great. Well, that's a card that could steal this game if I ever saw one. Think I want to kill Vivien here? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and kill Vivien. At this point, because our opponent's generating so much card advantage, our hope here is basically that they don't draw a removal spell, and we're able to steal this game by, using the Hadana's Climb. Climb is definitely one of our better tools in this matchup, because the opponent's deck is positioned to generate more card advantage than ours, so we're hoping to basically steal with something like Climb. Love to see these crazy numbers when you're on the front page. Keep up the great content. Thank you for that absurd tier 3 resub, Beeve. I appreciate that. Remember to drop a submission through the forum for a deck you'd like to add to the queue. Thanks for keeping me around. Yeah, this is going to get a Chupacabra back. Just going to kill Zegana. So, we're not just dead, but we're getting pretty close, right? They have another Chupacabra in here. They do not, but they have a Hydroid Krasis. So if they don't have a removal spell here, Branchwalker hits them for 10 next turn. Thanks, Blind him. I don't know about deserves. Definitely been a wild ride, though. There's a lot of people that work really hard making good stuff on Twitch. Feel lucky to be one of the successful ones. Welcome to folks that are dropping in general, especially from the front page. We're playing some Magic the Gathering this morning. One of the original strategy card games that exists. This is their new digital client, Magic Arena. So this puts a counter on here, which then transforms my land. And then this lets me give this +5/+5 and flying. So do they have a removal spell? If they have a removal spell, we're probably dead here. But if they don't, we could win this game, maybe. We actually aren't getting that much snow here, Hammy. It might be about time for the audio to go Zoidberg. We might need to restart. Arena's currently in a beta, so occasionally it has some bugs. Once every 3 hours, I have to reboot, otherwise the audio goes Mr. Roboto. So we're hoping to draw Vivien Reid is lethal here. Incongruity is lethal. So we've got a few lethal draws here. I have we're gonna kick the client in half a second. It takes like 30 seconds, 28 power. It's really quick. Hey, would you look at that? One of those wonderfully lethal draws. And this is, again, like, we don't beat this matchup by grinding them out. We beat them by killing them with the climb. Which someone asked earlier, is 2 or 3 climbs correct? It could be that 3 climbs is correct, just because it's the way we steal matches like this, because they're hard. Alright, enjoy the sponsors for 30 seconds. The sponsors love the audio noises while I reload Arena. The 2 minutes we have while sideboarding is more than enough. These people are great. Buy their stuff. These people, also great. Buy their stuff. Back to your regularly scheduled Magic Arena. -5 so far today, and looking at 12 inches of snow. Vomit. Found you on the front page. Great educational stream. Not many people do this style anymore. Keep it up. Well, thank you for the biddies, Best Style. I really appreciate that. Thanks for keeping me around. All right, so what are we supposed to do? I definitely think we want the last Krasis. Well, we definitely have a little bit of a hard time grinding in this matchup. I think Krasis is one of the ways that we can not only fly over the top in the literal sense, but it helps us grind a little bit as well. And I think I want a couple copies of Negate, because some of my opponent's more impactful cards in this matchup are things like Vivien Reid, as well as Find Finality, which lets them clean up my board. So having a couple of ways to interact with them on the stack is meaningful. GC Hero, I missed your biddies. I'm sorry. Ah! I know it's still pretty early, but the success of Bant Midrange had to pass open. Do you think Bant Flash could be legit? I have no idea. And like, one deck doesn't a successful archetype make. One other thing that's worth noting, I mentioned I've been working on this archetype a little bit too, and I might make this change in the sideboard here. I haven't been super impressed with Sorcerer's Spyglass in general, and I really like having a couple copies of the card Sleep as a way to break open these mid-range matchups. Sleep is a card that takes all of my opponent's creatures and taps them and keeps them tapped for a turn. So basically when the board states build up and are big, you can cast Sleep to like give you 2 combat steps for free. This hand's like not super impressive, but it's fine. This hand's a good example of why I don't board in more than 2 copies of Negate in this matchup, because drawing too many of them definitely gets a little bit awkward. You're like pretty happy to see 1, but if you see more than 2, you're probably going to lose because of it. Could have sworn I used to sub to a Paper Modern stream. Keep up the good work. Thanks for the 20 months, Repner. Welcome back. Mass Manipulation seems too expensive. I think there's a lot of games where you're just like not going to be able to do something relevant with that card. I don't want to draw this because I'm looking for more lands, but I'm kind of happy that I hit a non-land on top of my deck, because if I don't hit a non-land, this won't get bigger, and I would like my 3-2 to be able to block their 4-3 here. So the problem with River's Rebuke is that River's Rebuke against my opponent's deck full of Explore creatures and Wildgrowth Walkers is incredibly awkward if it's not going to be lethal, whereas Sleep can be used just to buy yourself 2 turns. So, as much as I want the mana creature here, I'm actually going to take the Jadelight Ranger, because by taking the Jadelight Ranger, I'm not telegraphing that I had another 2-mana play that I didn't make, because I don't want this Negate to be super obvious, because I want them to cast the Vivien Reid. And if I make it apparent that I have another play that I could have made, it kind of puts up in big flashing lights, hey, Jeff could have countered your thing but didn't, or could have played a thing but didn't. And Jadelight Ranger is still going to be fine here, because hopefully it's going to dig me to a land. again, just like looking at the fact that like 24 lands is very correct in this archetype, I think. You're gonna lose way more games to not having enough lands than you will to having too many. Big Krasis. Alright, hitting the land drop there is pretty good. I think I'm going to go ahead and just Jadelight and try and find some more. Air Spencer, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. There's a lot of great people you can give that to every month on Twitch. Thanks for shipping it my way this month. Subbed for the Pokemon content. What's up with that? Oh, Marty. Entrancing Melody's a sweet idea. That card's very good in general, and it's definitely great against Hydroid Krasis. Like Archangel Avacyn, yeah. If you go on my website, you can find a Black-White Angels deck that I like a lot with Archangel Avacyn in it. Yikes. So, again, this is coming back to my opponent's kind of grinding us out with an absurd amount of value here. They have another find on top of their deck. Any advice on starting to contribute to open source projects? In the words of Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Open source projects are almost always looking for people to do various things, whether it's writing documentation or contributing code. Writing documentation is a great in for getting involved with open source things. There's always lots of things that people need written down and nobody that wants to do it. We're gonna break 12K? I don't know about that. I think it'd be pretty wild to break 10K again. I'm gonna go ahead and trade here. If they don't give us something to negate this turn, I'm just gonna go ahead and adapt this. When we were on the front page last Monday, we got a little bit over 11,000 people. And this is unfortunate. So my opponent has spent a Veracity Contempt in response here, which means I don't actually get to get any cards here. I'm just gonna go ahead and Hydroid Krasis with X's 4 here, draw a couple of cards. 100 card hero with the 3-month resub. Thank you very much and welcome back. I appreciate it. Thanks for keeping me employed here. Yikes. So, I think I just Krasis with X's 5 here. Just so like, my squid is bigger than their squid. Okay, that's a Vivien Reid. So, if my opponent attacks with this turn, I'm definitely not blocking. And the reason why I'm not blocking is because I don't want them to be able to get their squid back with fine finality. I am going to go ahead and block here. I'm not blocking this one for the same reason, though. I don't want them to pick it back up. So I'm going to take 7 total here. We might just be a little bit too far behind at this point. Hydroid Krasis on the opposite side of the table is another reason that River's Rebuke, I think, is a little bit worse than the alternatives on average. All right, I am technically not dead on board if I Vivien down tick. I guess I can also, I can do this. Maybe I just do that. So if I do this, and then I can play Hadana's Climb to make this a 3/3. And then I have Negate to cover their Find finality here. I'm in Bloomington Normal. Yep, the Bloomington Normal area. And then I'm not playing this out, which does kind of telegraph that I have a counterspell here. But I think I just need to telegraph that. Yeah, it's important to remember that the deck lists that are in the deck queue are not representative of decks that I necessarily like or dislike. All the stuff that goes into the deck queue are deck lists that viewers have submitted. Basically everything here is viewer powered. So if you want to see a deck, feel free to add it to the deck queue. You can always find the details on how to submit a deck to get played on stream here on my website. I'm gonna click submit. I'm just gonna click submit. Yeah. The Esper midrange archetype seems really sweet. I think Thought Erasure followed up by Thief of Sanity is one of the better things you could be doing in blue-black. We played something close to Darby's Esper deck recently. You can find that on the YouTube channel, but no, nobody's added Darby's exact list from the open there yet. So because my hand doesn't currently have a 2-drop in it, I'm going to go ahead and Incubation looking for a 2-drop. Why not just link the website directly? Because bit.lys are easier for people to remember, Nivik, rather than like a long URL on my website. I have to say like, go to jeffhoagland.com/this/this long string of text. So, and it's irrelevant when you click on them. So if you're just clicking on them, it's functionally the same. And if you're having to remember it to type later, a bit.ly is much better. I don't know, Zeroth. At the end of last season, I was kind of not impressed with the black-green zombies archetype. I think it's kind of just worse than the green-black undergrowth deck. This setup here that my opponents had, which our deck is also playing, although I boarded out in this matchup, is just like one of the reasons why it's just like impossible to out-aggro the Golgari decks in this format. They just gain so much life that you're never just gonna beat them down. So getting pretty well set up here to have a pretty big Krasis play. So we're gonna need to go Llanowar Elves plus Jadelight Ranger next turn, and then probably play a Krasis for like 4 or 5 the following turn. I think Jeskai Control's great. We played Jeskai Control very recently, and you can find my preferred Jeskai deck list as well as videos of me playing it on my website. I'm gonna bin that. Also not really looking for that. I think I'm just looking for like more Krasis and Vivien at this point. There's ways to go bigger. Yeah, so this is Magic the Gathering Arena. This is the first real Magic video game. It went into open beta in October of last year. And it allows you to play Magic in digital with fancy graphics, just like if you were playing in paper. So the cards and formats that you'll play on Magic Arena also translate to paper if you'd like something to do in paper as well with the physical game. Growth Chamber Guardian is sweet. I think I'm just going to jam a Krasis this turn. Am I? Finality's looking pretty medium. I guess I want to do this because it's much better against Finality. Like if I play Growth Chamber Guardian out and adapt it and like go find another one, I'm just gonna like have a bunch of 4/4s just get completely dumpstered by Finality next turn, which gives creatures -4/-4. Yeah, Incubation Druid, much like Llanowar Elves, is not good except like on the second turn of the game. Which is actually one of the reasons why I like playing more Hydroid Krasis in the deck. Like, this deck has a lot of mana in it, and you need stuff to do with your mana, basically. So, I'm not going to play out this Growth Chamber Guardian this turn, because if I play it out and they kill it, I then won't be able to continue my chain finding more Growth Chamber Guardians, and my opponent's archetype generally doesn't play cards that can take spells out of my hand. This is a little bit safer in my hand than it would be in play. And like, next turn I can play it and adapt it right away to keep the chain going. Yeah, Incubation Druid's a better top deck than Llanowar Elves, but like, they're also like still both pretty mediocre top decks. And like, Llanowar Elves is definitely much better in the early game because it comes down on 2. Yeah, I agree, Zach. I feel like watching this game, it really shows like why sleep is fantastic, right? Yeah, sleep's a very good mid-range breaker. Concur. So like right now I have, you know, 23, I have 25 power in play, but I can't make attacks here, right? Because like their board's just a little bit bigger than mine. Yeah, sleep and climb are both great for this board state. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and pack it in here. Be super expensive to play Legacy on this. You can't play Legacy on this. This application only supports Limited and Magic Standard format currently. If you want to play things like Legacy and Modern, you have to go play Magic's older format, older client, which is called Magic the Gathering Online. All right, I think I'm gonna play the last couple matches today with this configuration, which is the build that I've been working on a little bit to kind of compare and contrast. It's very, very close. A lot of these decks have a lot of similarities between them, but again, I think not only is Incubation Druid like not quite needed, but I like having Spell Pierce and more Incongruity here. I also, the one takeaway from that last build is I think I'm probably wrong and I want a third climb. I think seeing how the matches against Sultai are playing out, you probably want to hit this card pretty consistently. Do I want to cut a creature for the climb? Maybe I do want to get rid of this for the climb. I'm going to move this to the sideboard, basically. Close my eyes and cut one at random. Alright. Let's play a match. I like how they felt the need to like throw I just played against you in there before they just like called the card bad without any justification. For people who are new coming in, I'd appreciate if you make sure to check out the chat rules. We have chat rules that we enforce pretty strictly here on the channel. They generally have to do with treating others with respect and being constructive and specific with card suggestions. So like, for instance, if you think a card is bad, tell me why you think it's bad and what you might play that you think is better and why it could be better. I have no idea, Totos. You'd have to drop me a DM from the email that I approved the deck from. I need to check and make sure nobody else has cheered to add points to a deck, because I can't change a deck out if multiple people have contributed to it. Yes, yeah, this build has two copies of Sleep in the sideboard. I updated the deck list on the overlay, so if you're looking at that, you can find it accurately there now. Yeah, I just wasn't impressed with the Ooze. We played Ooze a little bit last time we played this archetype, and I think it just dies a little bit too much. I think it's probably like between Vivien Reid, Ooze, and Krasis, I think Ooze is just the worst of all those threats. And like, because this deck can't really outgrind things like Find Finality, I think trying to grind with something like Ooze doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, when they have a response to the trigger, you just like sit there with your creature farting on screen for like an eternity. It's a real shame we don't have a blue source for like Spell Piercing Climb here. This build's actually playing one more climb than normal. Honor Guard poo-poos all over Hydroid. It actually Honor Guard doesn't have any text at all in the face of Hydroid. Like, actually doesn't do anything to it. Well, we would be in a pretty good spot here if we had a blue source, but without it, we're probably dead to their combo deck. Yeah, Hydroid Krasis is an enter the battlefield effect on drawing card, or a cast trigger on drawing cards, and the getting counters also is an enter the battlefield effect. Alright, we could be dead here if they hit their combo. Opponent is playing an extra turns combo deck. So if they take an extra turn here, I'm actually just going to go ahead and concede since we don't have any lands. Yeah, like if I had a Spell Pierce there, we just like destroy them. Just how it goes sometimes. So I think this matchup's pretty reasonable for us overall. We have copies of Negate, and we have copies of Crushing Canopy and Thrashing Brontodon and stuff like that. So we have very reasonable tools in this matchup for sure. The Hydroid Krasis is actually a little bit mediocre here because it's a little bit slow. Front page, Hogland, thank you, Warder, for the 3-month resub and the tier 2 at that. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Yeah, sometimes the export tool doesn't do the split cards correctly. You have to manually fix it. It's possible that this deck wants some copies of Frilled Mystic in the sideboard, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the case. It's nice that Frilled Mystic can be found off of Vivien Reid, which is sweet. I agree. Spell Pierce is very, very good. Is Carnage reasonable this matchup? I don't think so. There might be an argument that Carnage Tyrant is better than Krasis just because it hits more for less mana, but Krasis drawing us into counterspells is also valuable. You're not wrong, Bob. So this start is very, very good for us here. What's the format for decklist in Portsmouth Arena? It's a really stupid proprietary format. If you copy a decklist from any of the websites like Stream Decker and paste it into a text file, you can see what the format looks like. So Growth Chamber Guardian with Hadana's Climb is actually kind of a combo. So this doesn't have to be adapting to find another copy of itself here. So by hitting this with the token here, we're actually, the counter, we're actually able to get another thing out here. Spell Pierce plus Brontodon here, we're going to have a lot of meaningful interaction this game, which is sweet. Morning, Captain Jack. I think I'm going to go ahead and play Thrashing Brontodon and just blow this up right away. Probably makes the most sense. Hey, Ismagoif with the brand new Prime Sport. Welcome, welcome. There's a lot of great people who give that to you every month on Twitch. Thanks for supporting mine with it. So we have like a relatively fast clock here. We're going to have them dead in 2 turns. I destroyed their enchantment, which is one of their combo pieces. I'm going to have another Spell Pierce here. There might be an argument to, like, waiting on destroying that just so I could Spell Pierce the second one this turn. I have a Frilled Mystic, other than a Fog Effect. Do I just kill Karn here? How do we feel about killing Karn here? I think I don't need to hold up Spell Pierce this turn, right? Because if they play Wilderness Reclamation, I guess if they play Wilderness Reclamation and have an untapped land, they could Nexus me. Like, I kind of want to kill Karn and play Growth Chamber Guardian. Because, chat, there's a fog over here under the Karn. So, like, if I leave them the Karn, they're going to get another turn. So, I think I'm supposed to do this and play Zoidberg. So this way, this puts them dead on board next turn. So this goes here. And then I kill Karn so they can't get the fog. And then they'll be dead. They'll be dead next turn, potentially. So this is liftoff. And this isn't a lethal attack, and Karn can get a fog. So I think it's right to kill Karn here. They theoretically can combo us next turn. If they play an untapped land and then play a Wilderness Reclamation and have a Nexus, they could take an extra turn and maybe go off, but I think this is the right line. Schuller, top of the morning to you too. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This still leaves them dead. They're still dead this turn, right? I adapt Growth Chamber Guardian. I activate Winged Temple. I hit them for 8. No, I guess I'm only attacking for 12 here, huh? That's awkward. It's a little bit awkward that I'm only attacking for 12. So I think I just attack for 6. Is it 12? So if this doubles up to... I'm definitely shocking this in. If this doubles up to 4, then it doubles up to 8. Then it's 9, 10. Yeah, it's only 12 no matter how I cut this. So I think I'm just going to attack for 6 here. And I think I play Krasis for 4. Drawing 2 cards. I could hit a Negate or another Spell Pierce on these draws. So no guarantee they don't go off next turn, but giving ourselves the best possible chance like we always try to. I don't understand why people are freaking out about the GP coverage thing. There's already been plenty of Grand Prix that didn't have much coverage at them. Like, they're not doing coverage at Grand Prix, so it's not profitable for them to do coverage at Grand Prix, and the amount of people that actually watch GP coverage is, like, really small. Alright. So they don't have a dedicated source of card advantage going yet, so we could get another turn here and kill them, but we kind of just have to, like, wait and find out. Yeah, and like averaging a couple thousand viewers in proportion to like the tens of thousands of dollars it costs to do Grand Prix coverage for the weekend is like a pittance. Alright, so they get to draw a bunch of cards here with these Wilderness Reclamation triggers. They get to float a bunch of mana and then crack these Memorial to Geniuses, looking for more to do. It's not about profit always. Oh my sweet summer child. It's not all about profit. Yes, it is. Believe it or not, Wizards of the Coast is not a charity. They're a for-profit company that answers to shareholders. I'm just gonna time this person out. They're very silly. It's not all about profit. Not everything specifically not each individual thing has to turn a profit. You're right, that's correct. But ultimately, as a whole, the amount of loss you're taking doing one thing needs to make up for it in other areas. And they've obviously come to the conclusion, based on the analysis that they've done, that like the amount of money they lose doing GP coverage isn't adequately made up for in other areas. Wizards is trying to make money. It's weird. They're not this charity organization designed to make... I'm going to concede to one more Nexus of Fate here. They're not a charity that's just trying to help Magic players do stuff. Oh, they forgot their end of turn trigger. Awkward. I assume they have some kind of fog effect, so this doesn't really matter, but... Yeah, a lot of people who play competitive Magic are like, they're very narrow-minded and think that competitive Magic is everything in Magic, when in reality, competitive Magic is this very, very small part of what Magic is as a whole. So how does it make SCG to do coverage? Well, SCG profits by selling singles. SCG isn't making boxes. So SCG is traveling to do tournaments to buy Magic cards from people so they can then turn a profit selling those Magic cards. That's how SCG works. So if they have a fog effect here, we are just going to go ahead and concede. They're digging. game's opponent. Move right along here. Yes, SCG makes money buying cards. That's exactly correct. Hi, Steve. 777 with the brand new Prime Sport. Thank you very much and welcome. I appreciate that. Thanks for keeping me employed here. But again, the thing people don't get is you're talking about limited... People who are talking about the Grand Prix coverage, like, go back and look at historical data and see how many viewers limited Grand Prix get in comparison to constructed, and then realize that cutting coverage from limited Grand Prix makes a whole lot of sense because people don't really watch them. And at this point, there's a bunch of Magic players that always throw up their hand and go, but wait, Jeff, I love watching limited coverage. And I get it. Some people do like watching limited coverage, but by and large, you're in the minority. That's why SCG does all constructed tournaments. Yes, I agree. I think if Wizards wants to take their events to the next level, cutting limited coverage from major Magic tournaments makes sense. If numbers are what matter, and that is one of the big things that matter when it comes to esports. Okay, looks like the Esper deck. I'm gonna go ahead and bin that, just like looking for more lanes at this point. I think people watch Modern more than Standard. When Standard was really bad, there were more people watching Modern than Standard, yes. A big part of what makes constructed coverage more exciting for people is that, like, a lot of the people that watch this stream on the regular, while there's some entertainment value as well, right? I'm a relatively okay dancing monkey. A lot of people watch streams like this and watch event coverage so they can take what they're watching on stream and take it home and actually play it. It's much more tangible to be able to take a constructed deck that you see played on stream and apply that in your everyday life playing Magic than it is to watch someone playing limited and apply that to your everyday life. Sure, it is all a marketing expense, but again, marketing expenses, you want to get the most for your dollar. So if limited events don't make a lot of marketing money, it doesn't make sense to do it for limited events if constructed events just do better. Don't undersell yourself, you're a great dancing monkey. I try. Could be save / recover. I don't think they want Modern to be different. Wizards is on record saying they think Modern's incredibly healthy right now. Wizards wants Modern to be a degenerate cluster. They want Modern to be a bunch of decks that are ignoring each other and racing. Hey, Chivati. Favorite person to watch while on break. Keep slinging those spells. Thanks for re-upping that Prime support for the 3rd month in a row. Welcome back. I think I want to play the Krasis here just as a 2/2 blocker for this. Deputy of Detention is very, very good against Krasis, because even though this gives me my thing back when it dies, the Krasis will come back in as a 0/0 and just go away. This Modern player is getting a standard deck tonight. Enjoy, Josh. With Wildgrowth Walker into Jadelight into another Krasis, we might be able to race them here. We all know what WotC thinks. I think it isn't even worth discussing anymore, J-Rock. I've spent years banging my head into a wall hoping Modern will change. It's just never going to change. So instead of doing that some more, I just get to hang out and enjoy Standard, because Standard's really awesome. Thanks everybody who's dropping in from the front page. By the way, welcome. My name's Jeff Hoagland. I stream Magic full-time here on Twitch. This is Magic the Gathering Arena. It's Magic's new digital client. It is free to download and play, so be sure to check that out if it's something you think you might be interested in. If you enjoy strategy card games, I stream Arena somewhere between 5 and 7 days a week here on Twitch. Incongruity was a fantastic draw here. It means I can get rid of this Thief of Sanity and maybe actually get back into the game. So let's start by attacking for 4 here. Yeah, there's hopefully the fact that Standard is awesome right now is related to the fact that I don't think these mid-range decks usually play counterspells, so I'm gonna pass the turn here and Incongruity the Thief on their turn, and the reason for this sequencing is creatures can't attack the turn they come into play, so if I turn this into a 3/3 on their turn, they can't attack me with the 3/3 this turn. Whereas if I do it on my turn, I am exposing myself to like Dive Down or a counterspell here, but I think their archetype is pretty unlikely to play those cards. Yeah, I agree. I actually really love where the mana bases are at in the current Standard format. They're like good enough that you can play like 3 and maybe even 4 color decks on occasion, but not so good that it feels pretty free. Should have done it before their draw. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could see that being an argument for that being the case. All right, with double Wildgrowth Walker plus another Jadelight Ranger to make these big, we might actually be able to push them out of this game. Not looking for a Llanowar Elf at this point. We get to gain a bunch of life here and make these larger. Thief of Sanity is very, very good. It's definitely one of those cards like you need to be able to answer this or you're going to be in trouble. Do I want to attack with both of these? If I attack with this Wildgrowth Walker, they're going to get to block with this plus this plus this and like trade their 3/3 for my 3/5. But I think I'm okay with that. And next turn I get to go ahead and play this Hydroid Krasis as a 4/4 flyer, which is pretty good. They could also just trade here, which ends up being good for me. There aren't really any mill decks that are competitive in the current Standard. I use Ubuntu 1804 with an XFCE desktop for my stream system. Hey, Demo, thank you for the 3-month resub there. I appreciate the quarter viewer support. Welcome back. I mean, it's hard to know how many people are cheating in Paper Magic Hitsu, which is one of, like, the great things about playing digital Magic, right? You don't have to worry about people cheating you. Like, the good cheaters never get caught, right? We only know about the bad cheaters. It feels underwhelming. Is there a way I can get you to play the Esper mid-range deck you're playing against now? Yeah, definitely, Gorks. I can 10 out of 10 make that happen. Happy to make that swap. Yikes, losing both Wildgrowth Walkers there is brutal. Not only excited about Arena being really awesome, but a way to play Magic so that more people, yep. How far back was the Standard development cycle? I have no idea. I do know this current Standard format is the first format that the play design team worked on, so like that's kind of meaningful. Hey, Breton Style, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. There's a lot of great people you give that to every month. Thanks for doing it for me. So this gets to go for 5 and draw me a couple of cards. Yeah, looking at these boards, there were a lot of Sultai decks this weekend that were very similar to what our straight blue-green deck here is doing, but they were basically just splashing Find Finality. And thank you for the bits, Gorks, I appreciate it. And I think having access to Find Finality is probably pretty important, right? It gives you a way to like check board states like this and catch back up, as well as like picking your Krasis back up from the discard pile. Yeah, I agree. X. Deputy is really mediocre when your opponent has a lot of interaction, but when they have almost none like we do, it's very, very good. Okay. Get to dig a little deeper. If they don't find a removal spell for this Krasis, the Krasis is going to beat them to death very quickly in the air. They double bin there, so maybe they just like don't have a Mortifier or a Deputy or anything like that. So that person there that just came here and complained about getting timed out for breaking my stream rules and then decided to come back and announce that they were upset and dropping a follower. That people often ask why the subscribers ask for complimentary timeouts. The subscribers ask for complimentary timeouts to make fun of people like that. If taking a 10-minute break from typing in a Twitch chat is so wrong that you need to announce to the world that it's given you displeasure, like, you probably need to take a step back and, like, assess what's really going on in your life and, like, if that's actually so bad. I'll be posting about this. Hey, land grabs. Thank you for the brand new Prime support. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed here. Mods, slaughter the non-believers. Congrats on 10K. What a great meme Monday. Looking forward to another month of commentary. Thank you, Underpix, for the 3-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Really like standard elves, but I dislike losing to turns. I'm on black-green. Is there anything I should try, or should I try the red-green build? 4 duresses should help you in the black-green build if you don't have 4 of those in your sideboard already. Honestly, you could try a Jund build as well. That would let you play Cinder Vines on top of duress. I think we're probably dead here, which again, like, we've had some really good examples today of how the health total just, like, isn't a scoreboard. Like, we're at 25 and they're at 1, but I'm pretty sure it's just impossible for us to win this game at this point. I guess I could draw exactly another copy of Krasis next turn and play a Krasis that could trample over. So I'll take 1 draw step here at a Krasis, potentially. You think MTGA addresses the online gambling issues of MTGO? Oh my god. Oh no, we're short a counter. This doesn't flip unless you have 3 counters. What a tilt. So this doesn't flip. If this would have flipped this turn, we'd have killed them in the air. But, like, now they're gonna get to leave blockers back. They're gonna get to play a Krasis of their own and gain a little bit of life. I guess if I draw Vivien or an Incongruity, I could potentially steal this game still. So let's take at least 1 more draw step here since we drew a climb. Hey, Tron player, it did pop up there. Thank you very much for the 7-month resub. Sorry, you probably got caught in the flurry of people asking for timeouts. Okay, so I assume they're gonna not attack with their other flyer. We really want them to attack with Thief of Sanities. That way I can rip a removal spell off the top. It is pretty wild. We broke 10 digits again. Thanks everybody for dropping in. It's been fun Mondays on the front page. If you find yourself enjoying Magic Arena, make sure you give it a try yourself for free. Just Google MTGA download. If you find yourself enjoying my content playing Magic Arena, I'm here 5 days a week. So feel free to hit that follow button while you're here and drop back in again at a later date. So Incongruity exiles the Seraph. So if I hit a copy of Incongruity, it will actually still be lethal. So this card actually exiles it. So they're attacking with Thief of Sanity here, which means they could lose to Incongruity. Zegana will also do it. Yeah, we have 2 copies of Zegana, which would give this trample. So we've got 3 Incongruities and 2 Zeganas we could draw. So I think this attack here is pretty wrong. I think they're pretty likely to win this game going long, and this is a needless risk. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love, there's 3 climbs is so right in this deck. It's so right. Oh, yeah, just someone call the police. There's been a robbery. We might have stole it. Judge. Thump. Oh, and here I thought Incongruity was bad. Yeah, hats off to the scriptwriters at Twitch. I appreciate when you get above 5 digits worth of viewers, they assign someone at Wizards of the Coast to make sure you draw well, because you have to have it be good television, chat. They don't want us to be on the front page and like watch us draw poorly, right? That would be terrible. Thank you for the biddies, Manatithe. No, Jeff, the secrets. All right, so I'm bringing in the last Incongruity because killing Thief of Sanity is pretty important. That's the same reason I'm actually going to board in these Thrash threats and the Vivien Reid as well. I think I'm just going to go ahead and trim these couple of copies of Wildgrowth Walker. What do we think about Wildgrowth Walker versus Carnage Tyrant in this matchup? Carnage Tyrant might be a little bit better, right? Like having a giant trampler seems good. This card's also really funny with Hadana's Climb. I feel like I have a hard time being super aggressive in this matchup, so going a little bit bigger up the curve is probably a reasonable thing to be doing. Let's give it a try. Is this a sleep matchup? I wonder if this is a sleep matchup. The problem with sleep is that, like, I think I'm going to put sleep in on the play and maybe cut these Thrash threats, but I think on the draw I need to be a little bit more interactive. I don't think I can go below 24 creatures because then the incubation half of Incubation Incongruity just doesn't hit often enough. So, am I supposed to bring in Crushing Canopy? Maybe this is just better than Thrash threat. Yeah, maybe. Let's give this a try. I'm actually not sure. Again, a lot of these decks are new. The opponent's deck just kind of popped up from the open this past weekend. So still trying to like get a feel for exactly how I want to sideboard with these. What decks do you think will be top tier after experimenting with the new cards that settle? Probably a lot of the ones that we see now. Mono red, Sultai Midrange, some kind of control. I'd probably bet that Esper and Jeskai are both going to end up being competitive. Domri. I think Domri is fine to supplement Vivien Reid, but I think on average, if you're choosing between Domri and Vivien, Vivien tends to just be better in most situations because Vivien's able to generate card advantage every single turn, whereas Domri can only generate card advantage intermittently. Well, Thrash doesn't hit players, it only hits creatures and planeswalkers. This hand's really good. Turn 1 Llanowar Elves, turn 2 Jadelight is just A+. Hey, Just a Brain, thanks for the biddies, I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're having a good start to your week and a good weekend. Yeah, and Vivien killing flyers is just A++, it's so good. Nebula with the brand new Prime support. Thanks for shipping your Bezo bucks this way this month, I appreciate that. I would love a Hydroid Krasis. Why, thank you. Twitch Prime is busted. I in fact would not be employed without Twitch Prime. God bless. Yeah, next turn we get to go 2-drop, 2-drop. And Growth Chamber Guardian just, I can't overstate how good Growth Chamber Guardian is in this format. Just like having a way to consistently do things with your mana is very strong. Yeah, Domri's actually more likely to miss than Collected Company. I think I've been playing 2 Domris in the sideboard of Girl Midrange decks that I've been playing to like supplement Vivien, but I definitely think you want probably 3 Viviens before you play the first Domri. Yeah, I think Krasis was just, I think people were undervaluing how good the body was going to be on Krasis, and people were just thinking like half Sphinx's Revelation is not good enough, but the fact that it has a body too really makes it good enough. Murder by Death, thank you for the Prime support, welcome, welcome. Also, like, the fact that the drawing is uncounterable is very good. Do you have data on how many of your subs are Twitch Prime subs? I do, actually. 50 to 60% of my subs on average month to month are Twitch Prime subs. And it varies pretty drastically depending on how much I'm streaming, but usually over half. Murder by Death. Yes, I agree. Krasis is almost always a 2-for-1, and in the late game, one of the things that Krasis does that makes it so powerful is that in the early game, it's almost always a 2-for-1 because it draws you at least one card that eats a removal spell or trades with something. But in the late game, this card is a card that mitigates flooding. It's a card that when you draw it late, you're just like, okay, I'll take all my stuff back now. You're like, okay, I will just like draw infinite cards. That's really interesting that they didn't take Growth Chamber Guardian. Seems weird. So here's a question. Do I want to play out this other Growth Chamber Guardian and potentially get hit by another Deputy of Detention? I guess I do have Incubation. So I could just go tapped land into this. I think I'm just doing this because I have the Incongruity. Does streaming more lead to a higher or lower percentage of prime subs? Usually higher, Sharps. Yeah, I think that's a mistake for my opponent here. I think even though the 4/4 is bigger, they're probably supposed to spend their removal spell killing the Growth Chamber Guardian that hasn't fetched a friend yet. Cutting off the Growth Chamber chain is pretty valuable. Beast with the brand new Prime support. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed here this month with that. Having trouble with Carnage the Tyrant as Esper control. Not keen on playing more Stellar, just play more sweepers. There's so many sweepers. You can also play something like Direfleet Poisoner to block it, or the what's the 3/3 flying Death Touch creature with Hexproof? That one's pretty good too. That's an interesting observation, Doomfish. Since ad changes to Twitch Prime, you're more incentivized to watch people you're sub to. Yeah, Nightveil Predator's a good one. Do I think less of Prime subs? Not at all. I wouldn't be here without the Prime subs. Y'all are great. Let's play one more. I'm kind of liking what this deck is doing. Thank you for the content. Long live Hooglandia. Trevor, thank you for the 12-month resub there. I appreciate that. I knight thee, defender of the realm. Go forth and protect us from Twitch chat. Cecile of Baron, thank you for the brand new Prime support. Welcome, welcome. Oh yeah, Consume is great against Carnage Tyrant. I forgot about that one. The split cards are so good. They're very, very good. Tier 1 subs and Twitch Prime subs all turn into the same amount of dollars in support for me. The Squire of Hooglandia with the 3/4 of a year. Welcome back. This hand's real good. Why do I stand instead of sit in front of a computer? I do both. So the human body is not intended to sit for 8 to 10 hours at a time. And I often stream for long periods. Usually I do at least 8 hours per day. So I split my time sitting and standing. What would it cost to get Bant Pod into the queue for the day? Currently tied with Blue-Red Wizards for Democracy points. Usually I only rearrange the schedule for $50+ donations, Chuck. So if Bant Pod is currently towards the top, we will play it tomorrow. So unless you're super impatient, you don't need to necessarily bump it. So, and again, I require large donations to rearrange my schedule because I don't want people constantly rearranging my schedule throughout the day because it's more work for me and it's more downtime for the viewers. Succulent Sage, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed here. Alright, so I think I just play Jadelight Ranger of my own here. And I'm actually going to go ahead and Jadelight before I play my land for the turn, because Jadelight could find me a breeding pool that I would then want to put into play tapped. That's probably fine. It makes my Wildgrowth bigger. Any speculation on why Judith strategies didn't make day 2 of SCG? I think decks that contain Judith are probably a little bit tougher to figure out how to build correctly as opposed to some of the ones that we did see success with. I also think the decks that play Judith require a higher concentration of new cards, which makes them more expensive to play week 1. Wow, them bidding a fine finality there is really good for us. What time is Memekin later? We're actually going to be starting Memekin very soon. This is probably going to be our last match with the blue-green deck. We've been playing this one for over an hour. Start with Merfolk Branchwalker. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to Branchwalker here or just play this and activate it. I think there's a chance I'm just supposed to play this and activate it. I think I'm going to play this out to bait removal here, basically. If they have a way to kill this, they probably want to do it. Scumlord with the brand new Prime support. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed here. The viewer count's going to drop off here in about 30 seconds because our stint on the front page is going to be done. I did Gork, so it was really sweet to see. It looked like they were card for card the memekin list off my website. So if you're someone who's new to Magic, that's a good plug for that, and looking for some sweet decks to play, definitely check out my website. There's a standard decks button at the top that'll help you find lots of great things to play and videos of them. So because I have these extra lands in my hand, I'm just going to go ahead and spend my mana activating Growth Chamber Guardian here because I would like to play this Krasis out for as much as possible, I think. It's possible I should hold on to this just because Finality kind of sucks here. All right, there's a Krasis of their own. All right, so I can activate this. I'm going to play this Llanowar Elf. I'm going to play this island. Already played a land for the turn. Do I want to start attacking? Probably not. Again, like this is a good example of why we're gonna board in sleep in this matchup, right? Just like the boards are getting really big, so like getting 2 free combat steps is very good. So next turn, I'm going to have 6, 7, 8, 9 mana, so I can make a 7/7 Krasis that draws 3 cards, which is very good. Vivien, okay, huh. So do I just get this going? I think I just get this going.
Let's see if you're worthy.
Yeah, Vivien means it's probably more worth waiting. Although they're pausing here, so it feels like they probably have a removal spell of some sort. We could see Assassin's Trophy or Vraska's Contempt on Vivien end of turn here. How is the Legacy schedule working? I'm doing 1 Magic Online deck per day. So I look between the Modern and Legacy queue, and whichever of the two has the deck at the very top, I grab one of those. So we didn't do any Magic Online this morning because we were on the front page, and I don't want Magic Online while we're going to be on the front page. But for the remainder of my streams until I work through the Magic Online queue, we're going to do 1 league per day. So as long as people are supporting the Magic Online content, we'll still do a little bit of it.
No one knows the wilds like I do.
A mess is a good way to describe what this board state is for sure. And now they have a Vivien ticking up and we don't, which kind of sucks. We're kind of hoping to draw a land next turn, because if we draw a land, it actually lets Krasis draw an extra card. Tasty Wonton, thank you for the 3-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. I've not stopped taking donations for Magic Online, but I am charging more money for them, just because the Magic Online content is far less popular. Yikes. Alright, there's the untapped land. So we get to do X is 8. Yeah, X is 8. Which is just going to die to the Vivien, but it does draw us 4 cards at least, so we got that going for us. Hadana's Climb is a way that we can actually end this game, which is awesome. Do I have an updated Turbo Depths list? No. The Turbo Depths list we played wasn't good, and I didn't put more thought into it.
Come to me.
I assume they grabbed another Wildgrowth Walker here because they are hoping to find more Explore creatures with Vivien. Hopefully they don't play the Krasis this turn and they just kill our Krasis and play some more Ground Pounders, and then our Hadana's Climb's gonna get to jump up and kill their Vivien next turn. Yeah, so hopefully this is just like Walker. Sweet, and they didn't play the other Walker, which implies that they have I was watching the Command Zone game notes, and all I thought was, can't wait for EDH on my phone. They probably have a cast down here as their last spell, but I have a Spell Pierce to stop that, which is awesome. You have a main deck counterspell? Or is this reading Climb? This could be just them reading Hadana's Climb. So this is going to come into play. It's going to power up my Wildgrowth Walker, and then Wildgrowth Walker is going to turn into a 10 power creature with flying and kill this. Oh, the main deck Spell Pierces are so good. Main deck Spell Pierces are so good. I don't even need to make Wildgrowth Walker flying, right? I can leave that back on defense. So let's make this 8 in flying and attack Vivien Reid here.
I'll be back, just like before.
I'll be back. I'll be back. Dope. Are you up for doing a Van if you're listed Modern? For the right amount of money, I'll do anything. Yeah, right, Nivik? Like, the things that are playable in this format tend to be a lot different than things that are playable in Modern. So, Walker's dead. Poor Texas Ranger never stood a chance. I said for the right amount of money, chat. Listen. When someone tells you they won't do something, that just means they haven't been offered enough money, okay? I'm just honest with myself and upfront about it. Alright, so they're attacking with this, I assume, so they can memorial to volley it back, but that's fine. We're gonna chunk into them for 8 for a couple of turns here. I am having a good one, Batter. Thanks for the biddies. And I didn't say what the right amount was. Oh, this was a mistake here. Okay, so I wasn't punished for my mistake because we hit 2 lands, but I should have activated Growth Chamber Guardian before resolving the Explore trigger because I need to go fetch the last one. For enough money, we could invade Poland on this stream. What's going on, Frixie Meditive? Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this into play. I'm gonna Wing Temple, my 4/4. Yeah, we actually played a Gates deck this morning. It was the deck we played before this one. It'll be up on YouTube later. We actually played, the 2 decks we played before this were 4-color Gates and a Petitioner Frenzy deck, so both of those will be on YouTube tonight. This board state is just such a great example of why sleep is absurd. Just like, well, we're probably dead because they have a Krasis and we don't here, but, you know, we could draw a Krasis and then be right back in it. Yeah, sure. You can always find deck lists that we've played on stream in the deck cube. Vivien Reid, what a perfect draw. Like I said, we're behind, but not dead. We're down, but not out.
I didn't live through hell till no one said
All right, shoot that one. Attack for 8 in the air. I mean, Languish is kind of in the format. What's it called? It's still legal. Finality is legal. We're basically playing EDH. And, like, they did just draw a bunch of cards, but they're through 2 find finalities. I think a lot of these decks will only play 3. I don't know, if they find a finality, we're probably in a bad spot. But we've stolen a lot of games with this deck today. Like, between Climb and the other things we have going on, you win a lot of games that you're pretty far behind in. There was a Sultai deck that SCG classified as mid-range, but it was actually a control deck that top 32 the open. It was playing like 4 Thought Erasure and 4 Ritual of Soot in the main. Another Krasis. Yep, well here's hoping that our Vivien finds us a Krasis this turn, so that way we can do that as well. We have 3 Krasis and 31 cards. Make this a 4/4. So we get 5 looks at a Krasis. Swing and a miss. something shuffler. There are a lot of people making a lot of great content on Twitch, and I choose to send my bits your way. Also, can you bump the Antiquities War? Definitely, Croker. Thanks for the support. Well, I assume Vivien's gonna die here in some way, shape, or form. Do I have best of one decks on stream? I do not. I don't enjoy playing Magic as a best of one game. I find the variance that it introduces incredibly frustrating, so we play all best of one constructed on this channel. That's true. We can make a flying blocker, and then Vivien goes to 1, so we've got that going for us at least. Opponent just about to gain a casual 3 times 6, right? So they're going to gain 18 here. If you're frustrated with the Krasis decks, you should see the Gates deck that we played earlier today. Can we put those towards a Dealer's Choice, UG, or Bant deck? Definitely Phyrexian Manatee. I appreciate the support. I think we're probably dead here, right? I don't really have a comeback mechanic at this point. Let's just move on to the next one. Nerd Squatch, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed here this month with that. Alright, so Sleep's good. A couple of Negates are good. Extra Vivien's good. Extra Incubation is good. I don't know if this is right, but I've been cutting Wildgrowth Walker in this matchup. I think it's correct, but I'm definitely not 100% on that. This board plan puts me down to just 2... This board plan might put me too low on creatures. This puts me to 22 creatures. I think Negate's better than the Spell Pierce. This seems fine. After this match, we'll be playing Mimkin. So, let's sit down and stand it for a couple hours. Enjoy the ride, chat. Awesome, Prince. Glad to have you here. This hand's a little clunky because I don't have an untapped land on 1, but it's very reasonable. This is definitely a keep. Is there ever a time you would put all 3 Negates in? Yeah, that's why there's 3 in my sideboard. All 3 Negates come in against combo decks like Nexus of Fate, as well as control decks. Is Carnage T better than Sleep? So, were you watching the board state last game, Elusive? Carnage T does not break board stalls in this matchup. Carnage Tyrant's a 7/6 in the face of like 9/9s and like 7/12s and stuff like that. Carnage Tyrant's in our sideboard for the control matchup because it can't be countered. He very much does not break board stalls in this matchup. Little bit awkward that they have this Bronzodon here. Fish Lamp Clock, thank you for the 5-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed here. So what do I want to do here? I think I'm just going to go ahead and pass. I don't want to play this because it'll just die to the Thrashing Bronzodon. And I can hold up Adapt/Negate here because this is like the Vivien Reid turn, right? See if they have a removal spell in response here. If they do, it's not that big of a deal because I have another Growth Chamber Guardian. Sure, but like, so what you're doing there, Elusives, is you're saying, why don't you play Carnage Tyrant? Because it's good when you have Climb going. Our deck's always good when we have Climb going. So like, bringing in a card that's kind of mediocre, that's good when you have your best thing going only, is like the definition of winning more, right? Like, you want your cards to be individually powerful and be solving problems, not to be better when you're already at your best, basically. I'm really hoping to draw a land tier, so that way I can adapt this plus Hadana's Climb and flip it. That's unfortunate. I'm gonna go ahead and get a 4/4 here. I mean, this game here is a great example of why I think cutting Llanowar Elves is super wrong in a matchup like this. I also think, like, you're talking about cutting Llanowar Elves being good because we need to be grindy in this matchup. We aren't the better grindy deck. We're the aggro deck and need to get under what the opponent's doing. So I think cutting Llanowar Elves from our side of the table is incorrect role assessment for what our deck needs to be doing to win this matchup. It's important that you identify what you're supposed to be doing in a matchup to be able to actually win. Yikes. All right, so what do I want to do here? I think I'm probably going to turn this into a 3/3 so I can get Climb going. Why did you choose Elf over Incubation Druid? Because Llanowar Elves the more powerful card in the early game, and that's when I want to be good. I'm not trying to maximize my deck to be good in the late game, because this isn't a late game deck. This is an aggressively slanted mid-range deck. We had some kind of command that explained why I don't do the competitive events. I don't know where it is now. I think I'm going to take the Jadelight Ranger here. I guess Krasis would just be a 3/3 that guarantees draws a card. Leaving the Krasis in my deck seems more valuable, though. On the off chance they don't have a removal spell here, we're going to be in a very good spot. If they do have a removal spell here, Zegana. This is a card I'm not certain I like in this archetype or not. Like, while when it's good, it's great. There's a lot of the times in situations like this where maybe she's worth playing, but I should board her out here. Because, like, if they kill your creatures with counters, she gets pretty mediocre. Yeah, we've played a few Vannifear decks on stream before. You can find my preferred teamer list on my website. Looks like they have a removal spell here. When does stuff rotate? Magic rotates every fall. So the next few sets that get added to Magic and Magic Arena will only make the format bigger. Hey, pretty foul. Thanks to the brand new Prime Sport. I appreciate that. Thanks for keeping me employed here. Well, if they don't have another removal spell here, this works out really well for us. Sweet. Getting to draw a card off of this is exactly where I want to be. Would love to attack. If my voice is looping, I would recommend checking your settings. You might have me open another tab somewhere. And that worked out. That trophy worked out real well for us. So that block implies that they have Find Finality in their hand. They're going to pick the Chupacabra back up and use it to kill something. Hey, Chroma Solo. Thank you very much for the brand new Prime Support. Welcome. Oh, you're asking what cards rotate out of my deck in October? I have no idea. I'm not worried about that. That's like 8 months from now. So I actually don't want to draw this, but I'm gonna put it back on top of my library once before putting it in the graveyard, because I want this to get 2 counters so I can flip Hadana's Climb right away. So this gets that flipped over for me. Is that all 4 Find Finalities? 3 of them. Yeah, what'sinstandard.com will tell you when things rotate. Everything pre-Guilds of Ravnica will rotate in the fall. So X is a lot. This is 9, X is 7. If they kill this, do I die? I'm going up to 10. If they kill this, I die. Hey, Motionless Potato, thank you very much for the $25 tip. I appreciate that. Can you build a deck around Azales, Weeze, Juggernaut, Wizard Lightning, and Skewer? Yeah, probably. So I think I'm just supposed to sleep here, right? I think I'm just supposed to sleep so I don't die to a removal spell. And, like, by waiting a turn, I get to draw an extra card with it. Am I winning if I sleep here? Yeah, I think so. So 5, 10, this is, X is 9. I guess I'm still dead to a removal spell in this instance, huh? Because they played another creature. They have exactly 11 power. The good news is, if they don't hit a removal spell this turn, they're dead to the Winged Temple next turn. So, we're not blocking here because they have Memorial to Folly. Winged Temple is so good. We definitely want 3 climbs. I'm still figuring out all the details in this list, but 3 of this card I'm pretty confident after these games today is correct. It just steals in so many places, you just have, like, no business winning. I do remember teaching math at ITT. Hope you're doing well. That was a while ago. Long drives for me down there. Yeah, all the games have been really tight. Definitely small decisions. Growth Chamber Guardian's great. I think it's probably one of the better rares in the set. How much to get Esper midrange to the next deck? If you want to rearrange my schedule, it's a $50 donation. And again, that number is steep to discourage people from rearranging my schedule. So I'm aware that that's a steep number. I like people to be able to know what to expect. So. ITT is one of like 4 or 5 different schools that I've taught at. Yeah, I don't want to listen to people choose, so I assume a lot of people don't want to listen to me chew either, so, you know, do unto others, all that jazz. Okay, it's a good pickup. So we get to play this triggers the Growth Chamber Guardian, and then I get to play the next Growth Chamber Guardian out here. Someone asked if I prefer this to Bant or Sultai. I'm pretty confident I prefer it. I'm pretty confident I prefer it to Bant, but I haven't played the Sultai with Find Finalities yet. So I can flip the climb next turn. Next turn I can adapt this and then target it with climb and then flip this over, which seems appealing. Getting this flipped ASAP before they can Vivien it or Assassin. Well, I guess they can still Assassin's Trophy the land tub before they can Vivien it or Bronzodon it would be ideal. Nice duress. Alright, so much for that plan. Yeah, I don't actually think duress is that good against us. We don't actually have that many non-creatures in this deck. I guess our non-creature spells are very impactful, but I agree. I don't think duress is very good to board in here. They've like drawn 2 of them and been rightfully punished. So I can play this for X's 4 and just like have a mini draw. Otherwise, I could... I think I'm just going to get Growth Chamber Guarding going, because I don't think they can take this out of my hand, most likely. If they have Duress, they probably don't have Thought Erasure. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this, and I think I'm going to attack with all of these, because if they want to eat this here and take 7, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think cards like Climb are too slow in. In Modern for sure. I'm actually going to have an article going up on Cool Stuff Inc. on Wednesday talking about things I like and don't like in the format and what I think the results from SCG Indie mean moving forward. Alright, well the racing plan is off the table because Wildgrowth Walker reared its ugly head. To the surprise of no one, Wildgrowth Walker has taken the race plan off the table. I guess that's pretty good. We're already off the front page, Big Mama. It only lasts until noon, so we dropped off about a half hour ago. So, do I just Incongruity this? Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and attack with this, and if they double block, I can Incongruity this inside of combat. There's very little reason for them to double block here, but they did it anyways, so God bless. Because, like, my 4/4 could just bounce off their 3/5, but instead they decided to get greedy and try and kill my thing. Like, they read my attack there as me just making a bad attack instead of, like, realizing that I could have a trick. So they get to play Krasis for X's 5, and then next turn I get to play Krasis for X's 6. So my squid is bigger than theirs and draws more cards, which is good. I'm gonna go ahead and trade here. Sure, but if I'm bluffing, then my attack's just bad. And, like, they have a free block, so, like... I love when the Hydra draws another Hydra. It's just... It's so delicious when the Hydra draws a Hydra. You're just like, more squid mamas for everyone. Yo, dog, I heard you like squids, so we made your squids draw more squids. Hail Hydra, chat. Yes, it's like when you're Guild Summit, draws a Guild Summit, exactly. So, because they just drew 2 more cards here, I'm actually going to play this plus Growth Chamber Guardian this turn in an attempt to negate a Vivien or a removal spell if they have one of those. A Hail Hydra emote? That sounds like a great idea. I actually have another emote slot. I want to redo some old ones, so Hail Hydra sounds like a funny emote. So hopefully they play a non-creature worth countering this turn, and then we get to untap and jam this. We're through one of our sleeps, but drawing another sleep would be real good here. That's rough. Yeah, racing is just so impossible. Hamelfish, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. For spending your Bezo bucks this way this month. I appreciate that. Look at the little baby Carnage Tyrant. Yeah, not good enough. Next. I believe I'm out of grab people. Confirmed out of grab people. Alright, so hopefully the next Hydra draws us into a sleep. So this is 4, 9, 10, 11. So X is 9 here. Or more Hydras. Yeah, that would work too. Ooh, Zegana's another 8/8. That sounds great. Wow, that makes attacking with these way better, right? Because it blows out double blocks. Okay, I like these blocks from the opponent. They just like over blocks. They don't get blown out by an Incongruity. That's not ghosting. That's just a good block. Chat, not every... I know that there's some salty streamers that whenever anybody makes a good play, ghosting is the only option. But that's just a good play. Stop it. Hey, June Cloud, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support. Welcome. Thanks for keeping me employed here. And I'm pretty okay with this block too, right? Like, I get to kill one of their... We trade Hydras and I hit them for 9. Like, this seems fine for me. Oh, would you look at that? I'm actually gonna hold this in my hand because I want to use it to explore next turn. Because like adding a 2/1 or a 3 to the board doesn't do anything here. All right, this does let them play a giant Hydra. But at end step, I get to Incongruity, and then I get to untap and shoot one of their things, so that seems pretty good for me. So like, they're about to be under a lot of pressure. I'm actually about to just like full swing, right? I should have played the Llanowar Elves out, I think. Next turn, I'm gonna have 5... I want to be able to monster this, do this, and hold Negate up. Wow, this attack's aggressive. Yeah, I should have played the Llanowar Elves out, I think. I need to hold up Negate so I don't die to Finality here. Oh, I can hold up Negate still. That's sweet. So let's have this shoot here. Given that it seems like you and the opponent are playing similar decks, is it wrong for them to have Duress, but we have Negate? So here's the difference. 1, my opponent has more impactful non-creature spells. 2, is that my Negate's never going to miss. There's going to be games where my Negate doesn't have a good target early, but my Negate's never going to just, like, do nothing, right? My Negate's always going to have some amount of text, basically. Like, when I play this card, it's going to take a card away from them, essentially, is how it's going to work out. So I get to adapt Zegana, and then all my creatures 1/1 counters have trample here. Why would they double block? Do they not realize this has text? I guess this card doesn't see a ton of play. 1 wet fart, please. I think that locks the game up for us. Okay, that kills that, and now this can give Vivien a love tap. Are they dead on board, though? I think they're dead on board because my 1/1 counter creatures have trample, right?
Not again.
We must have had lethal in that last turn. We incongruity to tap creature in combat. It would have been worth 5 points of damage to mistrample. Yeah, that's true, Hippity. That's actually a really good thing to point out. Thank you. I think if we just attack with everything here, they're probably dead, right? I don't know. Figure it out. Opponent also comes to the conclusion that they are dead. How are we doing, folks? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good night to everybody wherever you're at in the world. Thanks for dropping in here today. My name is Jeff Logan. I'm a full-time streamer and content producer here on Twitch. I'm here playing Magic 30, 40, 50 hours a week. If you enjoy standard best of 3 constructed on Magic Arena, this is definitely the channel for you. As always, big shout out to all my wonderful subscribers. I wouldn't be here day in and day out without their wonderful support. They are quite literally the folks that keep me employed. Past subscribing, you can also support my stuff by checking out some of my very wonderful sponsors. The Nerd Rage Gaming Championship Series is a $5,000 cash tournament series that happens every single month in the Midwestern United States. If you can't make it out to play in one of their tournaments in the Midwest, be sure to check out their streaming coverage every month as well at twitch.tv/NRG series. Neo provides wonderful candy-flavored protein bars using code HOGLAND at bit.ly/HoogleBar. You can save 10% on your orders there with them. BCW Supplies would love to help you protect your very valuable Magic the Gathering cards using code Jeff10. You can save 10% on sleeves, deck boxes, binders, and all sorts of other fantastic gaming accessories there. And of course, I'd like to welcome everyone out there to Hoaglandia. There's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff on Twitch right now. Thanks for supporting mine this month. At any rate, that's going to be a wrap for the blue-green climb deck. We started here with something close to this viewer submitted list. And the one thing I definitely learned from the takeaway in this is that I'm pretty confident with all the mid-range mush that's going around, you want 3 Hadana's Climb right now just to jump up and steal games. That being said, I'm pretty happy with where this list ended up at. I think the main deck Spell Pierces are really good right now. They just have so much flexibility in the format between being good against combo and control, and they're even good against a lot of the aggressive decks in the format because Spell Pierce hits key cards like History of Benalia and various burn spells that the red decks are playing even. I think not playing 4 Krasis in your main deck or your blue-green deck right now is probably a mistake. This card's reasonable when you just play it for X's too early and it draws 1 card to replace itself, and it's absolutely absurd when you draw it in the mid to late game as this huge top deck. Alright, y'all ready to draw some cards and light some people on fire? Let's play some Mono Red Steam Kid.